I always loved the drive back from visiting my mother in Portland. 3 hours on the highway gave me time to think, to appreciate what I had built over 35 years. Edward's Diner wasn't just a restaurant, it was home. Every crack in the vinyl booths, every coffee stain on the counter, every photograph on the wall told a story. My story, our family's story. I decided to come back a day early. Mom was doing better than expected after her hip surgery, and her sister had flown in to help. Patricia, my wife, had stayed behind to handle the books and keep an eye on things. Our son Marcus was supposed to be running the dinner shift. I thought I'd surprise them both. Maybe grab a late dinner at our own counter, watch Marcus handle the evening rush the way I used to. The parking lot was nearly empty when I pulled in at 8:30. Odd for a Friday night. We should have been packed. I felt a small knot form in my stomach as I walked toward the back entrance, the one we used for family. The kitchen door was unlocked. The lights were on, but I didn't hear the usual clatter of plates, the sizzle of the grill, the comfortable chaos of dinner service. What I heard instead made me freeze with my hand still on the doorknob. Laughter. My son's laughter, coming from the office. But it wasn't the warm, genuine laugh I knew. It was different, louder, almost mocking. I heard another voice too, Chad Morrison, Marcus's friend from college, the one who'd started that consulting business in Seattle. He'd been coming around more often lately, always with his expensive suits and his talk about market trends and profit margins. I should have walked right in. That's what the old Edward would have done. But something told me to wait, to listen. I moved quietly down the hallway, past the supply closet, until I was just outside the office door. It was cracked open about 3 inches. "Your dad's going to freak when he finds out," Chad was saying. I could hear ice clinking in a glass. They were drinking my whiskey, the good stuff I kept in the bottom drawer. But by then the papers will be signed, and there's nothing he can do about it. "He doesn't have to know yet," Marcus replied. "My son, my only child. The boy I'd taught to crack eggs when he was 6, who'd helped me paint the exterior when he was 16, who'd sworn he wanted to carry on the legacy. He thinks everything's fine. Mom's keeping the books like always, not asking questions. I've been careful. My heart was pounding so hard I thought they might hear it. The Carlson Group is offering $1.2 million, Chad continued. They'll sign Monday if we move fast. Your share after I take my commission is about $900,000. Not bad for walking away from a diner, right? Walking away. What about the employees? Marcus asked. There was a pause. Sarah's been here since I was a kid. Tony's been our head cook for 15 years. Carlson will bring their own people. That's how chains work, man. Look, you're 35 years old, still flipping burgers in the same town you grew up in. This is your ticket out. Your dad had his shot at life. Now it's your turn. I pressed my back against the wall, trying to process what I was hearing. My son was selling my restaurant. Our restaurant. The business I'd built from nothing, that fed this town, that employed 12 people who were like family. I just wish there was a way to do this without hurting them, Marcus said quietly. Chad laughed. You're already hurting them, buddy. Or did you forget about the 20 grand you borrowed from the restaurant account? The money you told me was for equipment repairs? My blood ran cold. I told you, I'll pay it back, Marcus said, defensive now. I just needed to cover those losses from the casino. I know. And you will pay it back, from your share of the sale. But your dad finds out about that missing money, you're screwed anyway. This way, everybody wins. He gets his retirement money, you get a fresh start, and I get my commission. Clean break. $20,000, missing from our account. How had Patricia not noticed? Unless. You're sure Mom won't find the discrepancy before Monday? Marcus asked. She hasn't yet, has she? And she won't, as long as you keep doing what we discussed. There was another pause. I don't like drugging her, Chad. It feels wrong. The world tilted. I gripped the wall to steady myself. It's just a sleep aid, Marcus. A little extra dose in her evening tea. She's been going to bed early for weeks, hasn't she? Sleeping through the night, not waking up to check the books at 3 a.m. like she used to. It's harmless. But what if nothing? This time Monday, you'll be signing papers. By next Friday, you'll have money in your account and freedom in your pocket. Isn't that what you wanted? I didn't hear Marcus's response. The ringing in my ears was too loud. My wife. They'd been drugging my wife. My Patricia, who'd stood by me through everything, who'd worked 12-hour days when we first opened, who knew every line item in our budget by heart. I backed away from the door slowly, carefully. My hands were shaking. Every instinct screamed at me to burst in there, to grab my son by his collar and demand answers. But I wasn't 25 anymore. I was 62 years old, and I'd learned that rage without strategy accomplished nothing. I needed a plan. I slipped out the back door and sat in my truck, trying to breathe, trying to think. The dashboard clock read 8:45. Patricia would be home by now, probably already drowsy from whatever Marcus had put in her evening tea. Tea I'd bought her for her birthday last month. Tea my son had been poisoning. I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer, Tom Chen. We'd gone to high school together. He answered on the third ring. "Edward? I thought you were in Portland until Sunday. I need your help, Tom. Tonight. Can you meet me at my house in 20 minutes? What's wrong? You sound... 20 minutes. Please." He must have heard something in my voice because he didn't ask any more questions. "I'll be there." I drove home the long way, giving myself time to settle down. The house was dark except for the bedroom light. I found Patricia already asleep, lying on top of the covers still in her work clothes, her reading glasses crooked on her face. The book she'd been reading had fallen to the floor. She never fell asleep like this. My wife was meticulous about her evening routine. I gently removed her glasses and covered her with a blanket. She didn't even stir. Tom arrived exactly 20 minutes later. I met him at the door and led him into my study, the small room at the back of the house where I kept our personal files. "Talk to me," Tom said, settling into the chair across from my desk. I told him everything, every word I'd overheard. When I finished, his expression was grim. "Edward, what they're doing. Drugging your wife, that's a crime. Embezzlement is a crime. And if Marcus is listed as an authorized signer on the business account, he is. I added him 5 years ago when he became general manager. I trusted him." Tom nodded slowly. "Here's what we need to do. First, we need evidence. Recording, documents, something concrete. Second, we need to secure your assets before Monday. Can you get access to the restaurant's financial records? Patricia keeps everything on the computer in the office, but Marcus will be there. What time does the diner close? Midnight on Fridays. And Marcus? He usually stays until 1, closing out the register, prepping for Saturday." Tom checked his watch. "That gives us time. Do you have access to Patricia's login credentials?" "They're in the filing cabinet. She writes everything down." "Good. I'll draft some paperwork while you find those. We're going to freeze that business account first thing tomorrow morning. And Edward," he looked at me seriously, "you need to document everything. What you heard, when you heard it, witnesses, if any. We might need to involve the police." "The police? My son might face criminal charges." The thought made me sick, but what choice did I have? He'd stolen from me. He'd drugged his own mother. He was planning to sell everything I'd built without my consent. We worked until 11 o'clock. Tom left with a folder full of documentation, promising to file emergency motions first thing in the morning. I sat alone in my study, staring at the photographs on the wall. Marcus at 5, covered in flour from helping me make biscuits. Marcus at 12, proudly holding his first paycheck. Marcus at 23, the day I'd made him assistant manager. Where had I gone wrong? I checked on Patricia again. She was sleeping deeply, her breathing slow and even. Too slow, too even. I felt anger surge through me again, hot and bitter. My own son had been doing this to her for weeks, maybe longer. I needed evidence, concrete evidence. At midnight, I drove back to the diner. The lights were still on in the office. Marcus's car was in the lot, along with Chad's Mercedes. I parked down the street and waited. At 12:30, Chad came out, patting Marcus on the shoulder before driving away. Marcus went back inside. I gave him 15 minutes, then I used my key to enter through the front door. The dining room was dark, chairs up on tables, floor freshly mopped. I could see light from the office at the back. My phone was already recording in my pocket. Tom had insisted. I walked slowly toward the office, my footsteps loud on the tile floor. Marcus looked up when I appeared in the doorway. For a second, his face lit up with surprise and genuine happiness. "Dad, you're back early. How's Grandma?" I looked at my son, really looked at him. He had my eyes, Patricia's smile. He was still wearing his manager's shirt with his name embroidered on the pocket. He looked tired, guilty. "Your grandmother's fine," I said evenly. "I decided to come home early." Is everything okay? You look upset. I stepped into the office and closed the door behind me. I need to ask you something, son. And I need you to tell me the truth. Something flickered across his face. Fear, maybe. Sure, Dad. What's going on? Are you planning to sell the diner? The color drained from his face. What? No, of course not. Why would you? I was here earlier tonight, around 8:30. I heard you talking to Chad. Marcus stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. Dad, let me explain. Explain what? That you've been stealing from the business? That you've been drugging your mother? That you're trying to sell my restaurant behind my back? It's not like that. His voice cracked. I was going to tell you. I just needed to figure out how. How long? I demanded. How long have you been planning this? A few months. But Dad, you don't understand the pressure I've been under. The bills, the competition from that new place on 5th Street, the repairs we need. So you stole $20,000 and put it on blackjack? He looked shocked. How did you? Chad told you the casino losses. I heard everything, Marcus. Everything. My son sank back into his chair, his head in his hands. I made a mistake. I thought I could win it back. I thought I could fix it before anyone noticed. And your mother? What was that? Just another mistake? Chad said it would be easier if she didn't ask questions. If she just slept through the worst of it. He said it was harmless. Harmless? My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. Your mother has been sleeping 12 hours a day. She's been forgetting things, losing time. You've been poisoning her, Marcus. Your own mother. I didn't think of it like that. He looked up at me, and I saw tears in his eyes. I just wanted out, Dad. I've been doing this since I was 15 years old. Same kitchen, same customers, same conversations. Chad showed me what I could have. Freedom. Money. A life outside this town. So you decided to take mine? It's not just yours. He stood up again, angry now. I've given 15 years to this place. 15 years of my life. Don't I deserve something? You deserve the truth, I said quietly. You deserved a conversation. If you wanted out, if you were struggling, you should have come to me. We're family, Marcus. We could have figured something out together. Like what? You would have just given me the money to leave? Maybe. Or maybe we could have made you a partner, worked out a succession plan, sent you to culinary school if that's what you wanted. But instead, you chose to lie, to steal, to hurt the people who love you most. He was crying openly now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Dad. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Chad said it would be quick and clean and nobody would get hurt. Chad doesn't care about you. He cares about his commission. And the Carlson Group? They would have torn this place down and put up another generic chain restaurant. Everything I built, everything this community has loved for 35 years, gone. I know, and I'm sorry. What do you want me to do? I looked at my son for a long moment. I want you to go home. Don't talk to Chad. Don't touch any accounts. Don't do anything. Tomorrow morning, you and I and your mother are going to sit down with my lawyer and figure out how to fix this mess. Are you going to call the police? The question hung in the air between us. Was I? My own son had committed multiple crimes. Embezzlement, drugging someone without consent, attempted fraud. Any decent prosecutor would have a field day. But he was my son. I don't know yet, I said honestly. That depends on what happens next. On whether you're willing to make this right. I'll do anything. Dad, I swear I'll do anything. Go home, Marcus. We'll talk in the morning. He nodded, grabbed his jacket, and headed for the door. Then he turned back. Dad, does Mom know? Not yet. But she will. And Marcus? I waited until he looked at me. Whatever Chad put in her tea, that stops tonight. If I find out you gave her anything else, any other substance, we're done. Do you understand me? I understand. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. After he left, I sat in the office for a long time. The computer was still on, showing the day's receipts. We'd done okay for a Friday. Not great, but okay. I pulled up the bank records and found the discrepancy immediately. $20,000, withdrawn over 3 months in increments, small enough that Patricia, in her drugged state, might have missed them. I took screenshots of everything, emailed them to Tom, and then I went home. Patricia was still sleeping when I got there. I sat on the edge of our bed and watched her breathe. My wife of 38 years. My partner in everything. I took her hand gently, and she stirred slightly but didn't wake. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm sorry I didn't protect you better. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my study, going through decades of records. Birth certificates, marriage license, Marcus's baby pictures, the deed to the restaurant, the original menu I'd designed by hand, all the pieces of our life together, laid out like evidence in a trial. At 6 a.m., Patricia finally woke up. I heard her moving around in the bedroom, heard the shower turn on. When she came out, she looked confused. Edward, when did you get home? I thought you were staying in Portland until Sunday. I came back early, sweetheart. Come here. We need to talk. She sat down next to me on the couch, still in her bathrobe, her hair wet. What's wrong? Is your mother okay? Mom's fine. But we're not. And I need to tell you something that's going to hurt. I told her everything. Watching the expressions cross her face was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Confusion, disbelief, horror, anger, grief. When I got to the part about Marcus drugging her tea, she started crying. That's why I've been so tired, she said, her voice breaking. I thought I was getting old. I thought something was wrong with me. Something is wrong. But it's not you. It's never been you. She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. What are we going to do? Tom's filing paperwork this morning to freeze the accounts. We're going to meet with him and Marcus at 10. We're going to lay everything out on the table and decide how to proceed. He's our son, Edward. I know. But he drugged me. He stole from us. He tried to sell everything we built. I know that too. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. I want to hear it from him. I want to hear him explain to my face why he thought it was okay to do this to his own mother. The meeting was brutal. Tom had his office conference room set up with documents spread across the table. Marcus showed up at 10 o'clock sharp, looking like he hadn't slept either. Patricia couldn't even look at him at first. Tom started with the legal situation. Embezzlement, battery by administration of a substance, attempted fraud. Each charge laid out clearly. Each potential consequence explained. Marcus got paler with every word. However, Tom continued, Mr. and Mrs. Patterson have asked me to explore alternatives to criminal prosecution, contingent on certain conditions. Marcus looked up at me, hope flickering in his eyes. First, I said, you resign as manager immediately. You're no longer authorized on any accounts. You don't make any decisions regarding the restaurant. He nodded. Second, you pay back every penny you stole. I don't care if it takes you 10 years. You'll sign a promissory note, and you'll make monthly payments. I will. I promise. Third, you enter a treatment program for gambling addiction. Not because I'm asking you to, but because you need help, son. This isn't normal behavior. Okay. Patricia finally spoke, her voice cold. And fourth, you're going to look me in the eye and explain to me why you thought it was acceptable to drug me. Your mother. To make me sick and confused and scared, just so you could steal and lie more easily. Marcus's face crumbled. Mom, No. I want the truth. Not excuses. The truth. He took a shaky breath. Because Chad convinced me it was the only way. Because I was too much of a coward to face you both and admit I'd failed. Because I was desperate and stupid, and I didn't think about anything except getting out of the hole I'd dug myself into. And because somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing you as my mother and started seeing you as an obstacle. The silence that followed was deafening. I was wrong, Marcus continued, tears streaming down his face. I was so wrong, and I'm sorry doesn't even begin to cover it. I hurt you. I betrayed you. Both of you. And I understand if you never forgive me. Patricia was crying too now. You're my son. I carried you for 9 months. I taught you to walk, to read, to be kind to people. And you repaid me by putting poison in my tea. I know. Do you? She leaned forward. Do you really? Because I'm sitting here wondering how I failed so completely as a mother that my own child could do this to me. You didn't fail, Marcus said urgently. You didn't fail at anything, Mom. I failed. I'm the failure. I watched them, my wife and my son, both broken in different ways. This was my family. This was what betrayal looked like up close. Tom cleared his throat. There's also the matter of Chad Morrison. His involvement constitutes conspiracy to commit fraud, and possibly more depending on what advice he gave regarding Mrs. Patterson's tea. What's going to happen to him? Marcus asked. That depends, Tom said, on whether you're willing to testify about his role, on whether Mr. and Mrs. Patterson want to pursue legal action against him as well. I looked at Patricia. She looked at me. We'd been married long enough that sometimes words weren't necessary. Yes, Patricia said firmly. I want him held accountable. Marcus is our son, and we'll deal with that as a family. But Chad? Chad knew exactly what he was doing. He manipulated a desperate young man for profit. He helped orchestrate the drugging of a woman he'd met at our house for dinner. He needs to face consequences. Tom nodded. I'll contact the district attorney's office today. The meeting lasted 2 more hours. Papers were signed. Agreements were made. Marcus turned over his keys, his passwords, his manager's shirt. When it was over, he looked smaller somehow, diminished. What happens now? He asked as we were leaving. Now? I looked at him. Now you figure out who you want to be. Not the son who betrayed his parents, not the manager who stole from the family business. Just Marcus. Who is that? What does he want? What's he willing to work for? I don't know. Then you better start figuring it out. Patricia and I drove back to the diner together. It was lunchtime, and the parking lot was filling up. I'd called Sarah, our head waitress, that morning and asked her to cover for Marcus. She'd agreed without asking questions, bless her. We walked in together, and I felt a wave of love wash over me. This place, these people, the sound of silverware on plates, the smell of fresh coffee, the sight of familiar faces in familiar booths. This was what mattered. This was what was worth fighting for. Tony, our head cook, looked up from the grill and waved. Boss man, you're back. How's your mama? She's good, Tony. Thanks for asking. And Patricia? You feeling better? You've been looking tired lately. Patricia managed a smile. I'm feeling much better now, actually. Thank you. We spent the rest of the day working. Really working. Like we hadn't in years. I covered the register. Patricia handled the books, this time clear-headed and alert. Sarah ran the floor with her usual efficiency, and slowly the pieces of our normal life started to fit back together. Around 5 o'clock, Tom called. The DA is interested. They want to talk to Marcus about Chad's involvement. And Edward? They found something. Chad's done this before. Twice. Same pattern. Befriend struggling business owners, convince them to sell, take a commission, leave them with less than fair market value. Is he going to be charged? Probably. And Marcus's cooperation will help him in his own situation. The DA is willing to consider a plea deal. Probation, restitution, community service. No jail time if he fulfills all conditions. I felt relief flood through me. Thank you, Tom. Don't thank me. Thank Patricia. She's the one who made it clear she wanted justice, not revenge. There's a difference. That night, Patricia and I sat in our living room, exhausted. The house felt different now, lighter somehow, despite everything. Are we going to be okay? She asked. I took her hand. I think so. It's going to take time. Trust doesn't repair overnight. But yeah, I think we're going to be okay. What about Marcus? Marcus has to figure out his own path now. We can't do it for him. We can support him, love him, hold him accountable, but we can't fix this for him. She nodded. I was so angry today. I'm still angry. But he's still my baby boy, you know? Even after everything, he's still my baby boy. I know, sweetheart. I know. 2 weeks later, Chad was arrested. The story made the local paper. Business consultant charged with fraud, conspiracy, elder abuse. Marcus's name was mentioned as a cooperating witness, which couldn't have been easy for him. Marcus himself moved into a small apartment across town. He got a job washing dishes at a restaurant on the highway. Not glamorous, but honest work. He started attending Gamblers Anonymous meetings 3 times a week. Once a week, he came by the house to drop off a check for $50 toward his debt. It would take him years to pay it all back, but he was trying. Patricia and I hired a new manager, a woman named Teresa who'd been sous chef at a restaurant in Boston before moving back home to take care of her father. She was efficient, honest, and had zero tolerance for shortcuts or shady deals. The diner thrived. Word got around about what had happened, and instead of driving customers away, it seemed to bring people closer. They liked knowing we'd fought for our family business. They liked knowing we'd chosen integrity over easy money. 3 months after that terrible night, Marcus came by on a Sunday, his day off. He looked healthier, clearer. He'd gained a little weight back. Can we talk? He asked. We sat in the living room, the 3 of us, and for the first time in months, It didn't feel hostile. I wanted to tell you both something, Marcus said. I've been working with a therapist, and she's helped me understand a lot about why I did what I did. The gambling, the lying, all of it. And I realized I never actually told you what I want. What I really want. What's that, son? I asked. I want to open my own place someday. Not a diner. Something different. Maybe a food truck or a small cafe. Something that's mine, that I built myself. Not something I inherited or took over. Mine. Patricia and I exchanged glances. But I know I have to earn that, Marcus continued quickly. I have to prove I can handle money responsibly, that I can run a business without cutting corners, that I can be trusted. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Learning, working, paying you back. And maybe someday, when I've proven myself, you'll be willing to give me advice. Or not. I'd understand either way. I looked at my son, really looked at him, and for the first time in months, I saw him clearly. Not the perfect son I'd imagined, not the betrayer who'd hurt us, just Marcus. Flawed, trying, human. We'll be here, I said. When you're ready, when you've put in the work, we'll be here. He nodded, tears in his eyes. Thank you. After he left, Patricia turned to me. Do you think he'll make it? I think he has a chance. He's young enough to rebuild, smart enough to learn from his mistakes, and he has something a lot of people don't have. What's that? Parents who love him enough to let him fall and still be there to help him stand back up. She smiled, really smiled, for the first time in weeks. We're going to be okay, aren't we? Yeah, sweetheart. We're going to be just fine. The sun was setting through our living room window, painting everything in shades of gold and amber. I thought about my restaurant, my wife, my son. I thought about betrayal and forgiveness, about justice and grace, about the complicated, messy work of being a family. And I realized something important. Love doesn't mean accepting everything. Love means setting boundaries, demanding honesty, protecting the vulnerable. Love means holding people accountable, while still leaving room for redemption. That's what we did. That's what we're still doing. And yeah, we're going to be okay.